Those of you who are here for the dars, if you can please move forward and come sit in front, inshallah. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah wahda liman la ilaha qabla la. والصلاة والسلام على النبي لمن لا نبي بعد له أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قال الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد إن الذين قالوا ربنا الله ثم استقاموا تتنزل عليهم الملائكة ألا تخافوا ولا تحزنوا وأبشروا بالجنة التي كنتم توعدون وقال الله تعالى في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد يا أيها الإنسان إنك قادح إلى ربك كدحا فملاقيه صدق الله مولانا العظيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد معدن الجود والكرم ومنبع النور والحلم والعلم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله وعلى آلك وأصحابك يا سيدي يا رحمة للعالمين Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. You are going through the final few days in this blessed month of Ramadan Kareem. Tonight is the 29th night, and as Nabi alayhi salatu salam said in the very famous hadith, that search for the night of Al-Qadr in the odd nights from the last 10 days of Ramadan. And as this is an odd night in the month of Ramadan, the 29th night, we should spend this night in kasratul istighfar wal ibadah, excessive forgiveness and seeking forgiveness and worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we should spend this night connecting with Allah Almighty. I was reading in a book written by the great Abu Layth as-Samarqandi rahmatullah alayh, the great Hanafi scholar who passed away in the year 375 Hijri, who came before the great Imam al-Quduri and came after the great Imam Abu Hanifa and Imam al-Tahawi. Imam Abu Layth as-Samarqandi, he has a book called Tanbihul Ghafilin, a clear warning, a warning, tanbih, warning to the ghafilin, those who are in ghaflat, warning to the heedless. That's the name of this book. It was in the respected Imam Sahib's library, in his office. I was going through this book and I went straight to the chapter of Fadlul Ilm Bil Amal, the virtues of knowledge accompanied by action. And this is a very famous narration of Sayyidina Abu Darda radiyallahu anhu. Hazrat Abu Darda radiyallahu anhu used to say that me seeking knowledge is better than me offering optional prayer in worship. For this companion of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, seeking knowledge, talabul ilm, seeking knowledge, learning about Islam, learning about the deen, whether it's getting encouragement, targheeb, whether it is in regards to a person learning a hadith, trying to understand or being taught the understanding of a hadith. A person who is on this line, on the line of seeking knowledge in general, he considered it better than optional worship at night. And this is something that Sayyidina Abu Darda radiallahu anhu, countless number of times throughout his entire life, you will hear him narrating this time and time again, that seek knowledge, it is better than doing optional worship. And you are very fortunate that you have spent a portion of your night in the ibadat of Allah Almighty, i.e. in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And equally at the same time, you are going to be seeking knowledge as well. So you have best of both. Seeking knowledge is a form of ibadat. Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam said, Kun aliman, aw muta'alliman, aw taliban, aw muhibban, or kama qala alayhi salatu wasalam. Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam said that be a alim, become a scholar. If not a scholar, then become a teacher. If not a teacher, then become a student. If not a student, then become a lover. Become somebody who is in love with these people, love with Islam. So maybe we are past the age of becoming ulama of the deen. We are past the age of becoming tulaba'ul ilm, even though you can be a talibul ilm, a student of knowledge at the age of 60. You can be a student of knowledge at the age of 60, learn something. Whether it's a hadith, whether it's a verse of the Quran, whether it's a tarjama of something, whether it's a mas'ala of fiqh or aqidah, whether it's learning the seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu learn something. This is why Sayyidina Umar bin al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu used to say, Man istawa yawmahu fahuwa maghbun. Whoever's 2 days are the same. Man istawa yawmahu. Whoever's 2 days are the same, فَهُوَ مَغْرُونَ, then he's always at loss. I.e. every day that comes after, you should be improving, not going back. You should be progressing in your knowledge, in your actions. If you are doing 100 times istighfar, on one day, improve it to 110 times. If you are doing certain amount of ibadat in one day, do something extra so that the day before, you have made an improvement. Whether it's something really small or whether you want to go for something very big. But Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, and this is something for young people sitting here. Us being young people, we get a lot of jazba. I want to do a lot of ibadat. I want to spend all night away. And then you see that all night he was doing ibadat and 3 days he's knocked out in bed in itikaf. Because he burned himself out. When you are young, you have a lot of energy that you need to use and utilize. When you are old, they are more wise. They have tajarba, they have hikmat. They know how to utilize their time. I remember when I used to play football. I used to play with my friend. I was like raw talent on the football pitch. Not that I'm something special footballer. But I used to play. And I would run around after any ball. The ball would be in a corner, I'd just run after it. And my friend would always tell me, he said, you know how you pace yourself out on the football pitch? You need to master this. You have to know what ball to run for and what not to run for. He goes, you have to be able to, don't just waste your energy in the first 10 minutes. You have a 90-minute game, you have a 1 hour 5-a-side football match in the local goals or wherever it is. Five Alive, wherever, we used to play in a pitch called Five Alive. Five Alive goals, whether it's in Dagenham, wherever it may be. And utilize it. Don't just waste your energy in the first 10 minutes and then, for the next 50 minutes you're just walking around, you're tired. He said utilize it, pace yourself out. And he knew that after 15 years of playing football. I didn't know that. I was young. I thought, yes, I can use it. So his wisdom taught him that he needs to pace himself out. My lack of wisdom and knowledge and tajarba taught me that, I've got so much energy, maybe I can go on for an hour going like this. And instead, he said, instead of wasting your energy on something that maybe is not going to be fruitful, you won't get a goal out of it, you won't set up a goal. Instead of doing that, you know what to do? Why don't you just wait for the ball to come to you and then you take the killer shot and score your goal? This is a dunya example I'm giving you of somebody who was teaching me, who was telling me that as a young person, pace yourself up. And now that after seeking knowledge, and I'm still seeking knowledge, I am not an alim, nor am I a muta'allim, nor am I a al-Azhari, even though they call me al-Azhari. I am not a Azhar graduate. I have not been to Egypt, never seen the land of al-Azhar al-Sharif, nor the land of Misr. Sometimes Allah Almighty bestows titles on you that you don't even deserve. I am no sheikh, I am no alim, this is clear. I am just a talib, a student of knowledge, seeking, learning. And when I was studying and I read this hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that khairul umuri awsatuha. The best action is the middle action, the moderate action. Nabi ﷺ was not excessive and extreme in their worship. Nabi ﷺ were not excessive and extreme in what they used to say. The Sahaba said they would speak just what they needed to speak. And their one word had profound meaning. Otherwise, there was no one that observed more silence than the Prophet ﷺ. Because they are the one who said, whoever believes in Allah Almighty and His Habib ﷺ and the Akhirat, whoever believes in Allah and the Day of Judgment, then he should say good or liyasmut, stay quiet. He should say something good or just stay quiet, don't say nothing at all. Nabi ﷺ said, Man samata najah. Whoever is quiet, samt, najah, he is successful, he is berapa. He is rescued and saved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Controlling the tongue. So, many of you young brothers sitting here have this energy inside you all day, all night, ibadat. But you need to do it in moderation. Moderation is a key. We need to find the balance. Whether it's in ibadat, whether it's in seeking knowledge, not doing too much. Unless you have trained yourself to that stage. Like somebody will say that, Imam Sahib, if you are saying this, then Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi all night used to worship Allah. Imam Bishr Hafi worshipped Allah all night. Imam Abu Hamid al-Ghazali, Hujjatul Islam rahmatullah alayhi, he worshipped Allah Almighty all night. What about these? These are people and scholars and companions and tabi'een and atba'u tabi'un who trained themselves to a standard, a level that they could worship Allah Almighty all night. Our hal, one night we will go into hub ibadat. Worship Allah, worship Allah, worship Allah. And then 3 nights we are knocked out. 4th night we want to do it again. 6 nights we are knocked out. We don't learn. Why not start slowly and small? Something that you can chew. And then slowly when you feel that you are more thirsty, you need it more, you go on and on and on. So this is a way. The Prophet ﷺ said that the best actions are the actions that are done in moderation. Be moderate in your actions, in your sayings. Don't talk too much, don't talk too less. Don't do too much, don't do too less. Don't become an extremist and don't become such a lenient. Find the middle ground. The best way is the middle way. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. Mustaqim can come in the meaning of middle way. Guide us to the straight path, the middle path, the path of moderation. So this is very important to understand. And as you guys are sitting here, itikaf, it's also very important for you now to start thinking, how am I going to maintain this buzz and kayfiyah, this current feeling that you have, the state of your iman. Right now you're on a high. You're on a super high. You are charged up. You have been instilled with the nur of iman inside you. You feel it. Everyone has tasbih in their hand. Everyone is doing zikrullah. Everyone is in qiyamul layl. It's easy now. Brother, my question to you is, how are you going to maintain this after Ramadan? For the next 11 months till the next Ramadan, if Allah gives you tawfiq and life to live, how are you going to maintain this? What is it? A case of after 2 weeks after Ramadan, boom, too slowly. You know, the engine's blown out. He needs to put a new engine inside him. The car he's driving too much rev. He put the wrong diesel in. Instead of unleaded petrol, he put diesel in. Like this, he's been in this state. He's doing, look at that. From a dunya's example, a worldly perspective, you learn this. If you have a car and you overdrive the car, what happens? It burns out. It goes up in flames. Why are you going to burn yourself out after Ramadan? You need to find moderation. For that, it's very important that you seek guidance. You find ways in which you can continue your progress to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You need to find ways in how to get closer to Allah Almighty, but in moderation. Khairul umuri awsatuha. Best actions are the moderate actions. So after Ramadan, you will leave here, i'tiqaf. Then you will go on, you will go back out, Eid day. How will you spend your Eid day? For young lads who are sitting here, how are you going to spend your Eid day? Many of us save our money for brand new clothes. Gonna go have a haircut, look good. Go eat, read Eid namaz, probably get the last rakat, if that. Then go home and chill out and link your boys up. This is what happens, young people do on the Eid day. They spend little time with family, more time with their boys. And then from there it continues, they come home and then they spend time at home. The young lad who is sitting i'tikaf, as soon as he hits the street, boom, shaitan is, as soon as Maghrib Salah is over and the next day begins, brother, you will feel shaitan back in society. Don't dress up to welcome him back. This is what I say to young people. Don't prepare yourself for his return to society. Because that's what happens. Subconsciously, it seems as though this is what's happening. People prepare for the arrival of the Satan. Return of the Satan, new movie. Return of the Satan. So, this is what people are doing. Sadly, young people are welcoming how they will go and spend the day of Eid, such a blessed day that Allah and His Rasul gave to the Ummah. They will spend this in sinning, doing haram out there, drinking, going and linking girls up, going to cinemas and doing haram in cinemas, going to shisha bars and smoking shisha, and all these things. They spend the Eid hiring a car, wasting money. Fudul harji. People say, it's only a car, Imam Sahib. Really, do you need? If there is a need, yes, buy one. Brothers going out of his way to bring a BM on Eid day just to prove a point. Just to be known. Old people, mashallah, don't do this, but young people, this is the trend on the street. This is the latest on the market. Whether it's Manchester, whether it's Birmingham, whether it's Bradford, whether it's London, whether it's Harrow, whether it's Barking, wherever it may be, that's it. Young guy got to have a slick motor to drive. So he'll get a nice car, go out, he'll spend his time like this. This is how it's done. And they find that this is the way. And most probably what I'm saying now doesn't relate to you. Maybe you are not one of those people. But you need to know this. Maybe somebody in your family might be going through this. He might be thinking this. You should say to him, this is the day of Eid. This is a day of happiness for the Ummah. This is a day of ittihad and ittifaq. You should unite with your family, sit with your family, eat with your family, spend time with your family. Wear your best clothes, wear the best ittar, have a fresh ghusl, make sure you are dressed. This is the day of Eid celebration. And this is how we should do. Khair, going back to the question that I posed, that how are you guys who are mu'takifin in this masjid, doing i'tikaf in this masjid, going to maintain the iman and the strength of iman you have inside you? How is that going to be done? To strengthen your iman, you have to do the same actions that you are doing now. If for a long period of time you're eating the same food, you get used to it and you know the effect it has on you. If for a period of time you've been going to the gym and training, you've been working on your lats for 6 weeks, you know exactly what it takes to work on your lats or your biceps or your pectorals, whether it's your legs. You know. You've molded and trained yourself. Brothers and sisters, the reality is that you have trained yourself for these 10 days. But the reality is the awliyaullah, they always used to give a limit of chali, 40. 40 holds a big significance. Whenever they said go do 40 days chilla at the grave of so and so wali of Allah. Don't go and do a 40-day itikaf. Go and do a 40-day seclusion, khalwat from mankind and your society. So 10 days you've had a lot of ways to improve your iman, strengthen your iman, to become stronger. Whether it's through listening to the Quran, whether it's through beautiful du'as that are made where you are shedding your tears, whether it's through doing the zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether it's doing the nadkhani of Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam, whether it's through doing the seerat of Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam, studying this, whether it's through listening to talks by different speakers that are coming in, whether it's through doing qiyamul layl and doing excessive ibadat, whether it's somebody who sat behind these brown segregation boards here and they're reading the Quran now, you're doing it. You're building a connection with the Quran. Like Hafsa always quotes this hadith, they say that if a person wants to talk to Allah Almighty, then he should read the Quran. If you want to talk to Allah Almighty, you want to converse with Him, if you want to have a conversation with Allah, converse with Him, then read His word, read His book, read the Quran. And you will get a nisbat and connection to Allah Almighty. Become people who are sahibani Quran. People who are in love with reciting the Quran. And if you are reading Quran now and you feel good, then when you will go out and you stop reading Quran, if you stop feeding the body, what happens to the body? You get weak, you become ill, you need medicine. Brother, if you are reading Quran for 10 days, in and out, and you're going to go back out into society, you're not secluded, you have no, you have shaitan out there, you're in the public eye again, you're doing your normal thing, you're back to work, you're off your holidays. What are you going to do? How are you going to maintain what you have? Are you going to still give time to reading the Quran? Are you still going to read one sapara a day that you used to do? Maybe you don't have the time to do that. Will you do one safha a day, one page a day? Will you still be doing the tilawat of Surah Yasin, Surah Rahman Sharif? Will you still be doing the tilawat of Surah Al-Mulk, Surah Al-Waqi'ah? Or is that going to decrease? And you will find that shaitan knows what you're doing now. Shaitan has ilm, he has knowledge. Allah has granted him the ability to know what you are thinking. He will know that this person, he's worked hard for 10 days. I've got to go back out now and I've got to stop him from reading the Quran. And you need to equip yourself. You need to do constant mujahada, striving and struggling. الَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا الَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. That those who strive in our ways and paths, those who are constantly struggling against the desire. I put a post or I tweeted on Twitter today a saying of one of the awliyaullah that the greatest ibadat is killing off the ego. The greatest ibadat, the greatest form of worship is killing off your ego. And it's working against this. Allah Almighty in the Quran says, وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ وَنَهَى النَّفْسَ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ فَإِنَّ الْجَنَّةَ هِيَ الْمَأْوَىٰ. وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ. And he who fears standing before Allah on Qiyamah, he's scared of Allah, he has the khawf of Allah Almighty. وَنَهَى النَّفْسَ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ. Not only does he have khawf and khashiyat inside him, fear of Allah, he has this sense of being scared of the punishments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَنَهَى النَّفْسَ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ. And he goes against his hawa. He reproaches his desire. He fights against his own desire and ego. فَإِنَّ الْجَنَّةَ هِيَ الْمَأْوَىٰ. Indeed, Jannat is his abode. For who? The one who is doing mukhalafatul nafs, who goes against his ego. And the ego, there is a great wali of Allah Almighty, Abul Qasim al-Qushayri, under the chapter of mukhalafatul nafs. Imam al-Qushayri, he mentions in his Ar-Risalatul Qushayriya, he mentions in this chapter that Allah Almighty created the ego deliberately in a way, in a standard where it's going to make you want to do wrong. Nafs ammaratun bisu. Nafs ammara bisu is what? A nafs, a ego that wants you to do bad. Amara bisu is telling you, go on, do haram, do it, it doesn't matter. And you're going to find that when you go back out there, even now, if you are struggling now, it shows the weakness inside us. You will find when you go back out there, not only will you have to fight against your nafs, but also shaitan. إِنَّهُ لَكُمْ عَدُوٌّ مُبِينٌ. Indeed, shaitan. إِنَّ الشَّيْطَانَ لَكُمْ عَدُوٌّ مُبِينٌ. He is a clear enemy to you. Open enemy. Mubin. Clear cut, wazih enemy to you. He's your dushman. How are you going to fight him? How are you going to fight him? There's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that whenever Ibn Adam does sajda, shaitan runs away crying. Whenever the adhan is called and Ibn Adam responds to the adhan, shaitan leaves that person. Whenever a person is in the state of wudu, shaitan doesn't affect that person. When a person is in ibadat, shaitan doesn't want to affect. So these are ways by which we can, means by which we can get closer to Allah, and we can move further away from shaitan and his desire. And we need to